Hi, and welcome everyone to this Keptn community meeting. It's November 5th. We don't know who is the next president of the United States yet, but we have a lot of great topics for this Keptn community meeting, and let's just jump right in. So we don't know how you found the community meeting and how you joined. Maybe it was via the community meeting calendar on Keptn.sh and on our community site on GitHub, or via the CNCF calendar. Just as a short mention, Keptn community meetings are now also listed in the official CNCF calendar. So make sure to subscribe to this calendar. Also, all the other CNCF projects are listed there, and you might find some other interesting community meetings or SPEC meetings. Make sure to subscribe to this calendar to get the next Keptn community meetings also directly into your calendar. We have a couple of interesting webinars coming up next week. On Wednesday next week, we have a joint webinar together with the Litmus team. Litmus Chaos is also a CNCF sandbox project, and we have been working together with them on an integration between Litmus Chaos testing and Keptn. And the integration is really about testing and evaluating the resiliency of microservice applications with Litmus Chaos and Keptn. We presented this already, a short abstract or short excerpt of the webinar we presented yesterday in the app delivery SPEC meeting of the CNCF. The demo was very well received, and in the webinar next week, we will go a little bit more into detail, and we'll show you how you can have chaos testing orchestrated by Keptn directly in your CD, and we will explain what are the benefits for this integration. And on Tuesday next week, actually, I should change the order here, but anyway, we will have a joint webinar with Julius Volz. He is the co-founder of Prometheus, and he's the founder of his new company called Prom Labs. And we will talk about how to improve SLIs and SLOs with Prometheus and Keptn. So we will see how, with the help of an open source tool, we can write better queries, better PromQL queries in Prometheus to write better SLIs and better SLOs and to include them in Keptn. So this will be on Tuesday. We will stream it directly to YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, and it's already there is a placeholder already up and running, and you can set yourself a reminder that you don't forget to join our webinar. Also next week, Keptn will be presented in the GitLab's Everyone Can Contribute Cafe. There is one of our Keptn community members, I think he is also joining today, Christian Heckleman. Hi, Christian. And I know you will be talking. Hi. Do you want to say a word for what it actually is?
Yeah, that's one thing I want to know by myself. But as far as I understand, it's more kind of an hands-on session where where I will show how we have integrated Keptn into GitLab pipeline. Therefore, I have also created on the GitLab SaaS environment, so it's reachable for everybody, a demo integration for Keptn, and also published our not internal, but our Keptn templates for GitLab there, so everybody can reuse the Keptn integration for GitLab, and we will go through how to deploy service or utilizing Keptn within a GitLab CI/CD pipeline.
Is that something that GitLab per se is organizing, or are they just hosted by GitLab?
I just know it's a GitLab event.
Okay.
From what is this Twitter handle? Den Esmichi, the Michael. Oh, what's his name? Michael Friedrich.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. I was just wondering if that's really hosted by GitHub or if it's just
GitLab.
Cool. GitLab, sorry, GitLab. Cool.
Yeah, it's hosted by GitLab, and Alois actually pulled me in to this. So
cool. Yeah, thanks, Christian, for doing this. and spreading the word around Keptn. That's really exciting. Thank you. Yeah, if there are for the broader Keptn community and for those who have also joined this meeting, if you are talking about Keptn and speaking publicly about Keptn or blogging about Keptn, please let us know. We have some Keptn t-shirts that are pretty nice, and we want to send you as a gift if you're speaking publicly about Keptn. Actually, today I'm not wearing a Keptn t-shirt. I think maybe you can see my Keptn hat there. But yeah, we do have some nice Keptn swag, and we will happy to ship it to you. So with this, these were like community updates. With this, we will jump into the more technical part, and we have a lot of technical issues that we want to discuss today, or technical topics. And I will be handing over to Christian, and then we will go through the list. So please, Christian, take the screen. And
yeah, thanks. I just
for the community members, oh, sorry, I will just say one more sentence. If you have any questions, please let us know in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will be happy to address them.
All right, thanks, Jürgen. I just added myself on the top of the list because I have more of an organizational topic or something that's not so technical but might affect a lot of users. So starting November 1st or even 2nd, Docker Hub is introducing a pull rate limit for anonymous users and authenticated users if you are on the free plan. This pull rate limit is 100 image pulls from Docker Hub per 6 hours. Usually this shouldn't affect you if you're an anonymous user, but if you're trying out Keptn and you've been continuously creating a cluster, deleting a cluster, creating it again, etc., or you've been generally working a lot with Docker images from Docker Hub, or if you are behind a company firewall and you only have one public IP address, you might run into this limit. And this will result, as I've written on the public Slack already, in an image pullback of error. There's nothing that we can do at this point in time to reduce this other than pushing our Docker images to a different registry. But what we've done so far is we've applied on Docker Hub's open source free tier, whatever it's called, which we will get news from, I hope, soon. Once that's happening, some of our namespaces, like the Keptn namespace and the Keptn contrib namespace and Keptn examples, I think they should be covered by this. And this means that even if you are in the free plan and an anonymous user, the pull rate limit does not affect images in the Keptn namespace. So this is the Keptn namespace on Docker Hub, not in any Kubernetes cluster. Yeah, I will monitor this. Actually, we will monitor this, and if anything happens, we will notify you. Yeah.
I have a little question here. It's not Keptn related, but for the rate limit calculation, is it really on IP address based, or wasn't it on? I know there was a discussion outside on GitLab as well. Isn't it based on the Docker engine ID from every server?
Interesting question. I cannot answer this. From my understanding, if you are an anonymous user, there is no way for them to tell who is who. So if you're behind one public IP address,
but when you're installing Docker on your machine, your Docker machine or the instance of Docker daemon but generating an ID, which he then sends to the server, and that there was a discussion with GitLab. I'm not really 100% sure. But then it is much not or more or less affecting this issue, because when you have,
it's certainly better if you're behind the company firewall.
Yeah. But I'm not sure. But if you're behind the company firewall, it's really easy to install a pull-through cache.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is something we can also show people. So Docker has a built-in feature, registry as a pull-through cache that you can use, and you need to set it up as a company. You can have it set up as a caching server in between. That's quite nice. And you need to configure some things in the cache. And in your Docker local config file, you would have to configure a registry mirror, so to say. This would only be valid for pulling images, not for pushing images, and that would be one of the solutions. I will actually share that in the document as well. One thing that you cannot do, although, is you cannot easily configure this on your Kubernetes host. So on your Kubernetes host, this is, I don't know where you would put this. So if anyone knows, feel free to comment on the issue. Anyway, that's why we're raising this point. So if you see such image pullback of errors, it's most likely not a Keptn issue, but a Docker rate limit issue. And there's nothing we can do other than pushing the images to a different registry or waiting until we get the free tier for open source. And now my Zoom is trying. I cannot actually stop sharing.
You already did. It's already stopped.
I did.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to share again, or it's fine?
No, I just wanted to stop sharing. It's still showing me that I'm sharing, but then it's fine. I'll just rejoin the meeting. Okay, that's it from my side. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Christian. Yeah, if you run into any issues installing Keptn or operating Keptn because of this limit, please let us know, and we'll also actively monitor this issue. So the next on the list is Gabriel from the Keptn community. He has worked on an Ansible Tower service. Gabriel, do you want to take the screen sharing?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, all good.
Awesome. Okay, I'll do a quick one since we have a lot of items in the agenda. It's basically an update and letting you guys know that we've made an initial release on the Ansible Tower service that, of course, pretty much the beginning still, lots of stuff to do, but myself and Jürgen have decided to already push that as a release so that we can start tracking progress via the issues and everyone can start using it as well. So there is documentation here for those that are interested in trying it out. There are some prerequisites since we are integrating with Ansible Tower. There is an Ansible Tower instance is needed, but then the rest of the installation here is pretty much a Keptn service, some secrets, and a sample application to onboard it. The result that we wanna have is something like what we see here in the bridge. A problem is opened from a monitoring solution, then the remediation service kicks in because we had already defined that this has a remediation. Then the action is triggered by the remediation service, and then as a source, the Ansible Tower service starts the action, and that's the actual job that runs the Ansible playbook. The action finishes, an evaluation starts to see if it was successful in correcting the problem. That includes a retrieval of SLI that in turn results in the passing or failing of the evaluation, which is the way that we are defining if the remediation should be concluded. In this case, it was a pass, so remediation is finished. And then additionally, we receive an event from the monitoring solution that the problem was resolved. So this is the, going back to the concepts, this is concretely the automated operations. And here's a summary. If you need to explain to someone, this is a good way. So the problem is alerted, same thing that I just said, but gets the remediation action and executes it, reevaluates the SLO, and then the escalation would be a second point, which would be another action. But I think that is pretty much it. It's just an announcement that we're, well, that this is working. It's beginning to be in a working state, and I just want to thank Jürgen and Johannes for, following and helping me get through this. It's been really interesting to develop this one.
Really cool work. Thanks.
Thanks, Gabriel.
Thanks, guys.
Johannes, is this helping us towards more remediation use cases that we want
Yeah,
to build?
definitely.
Ansible? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the way that Gabriel implemented it allows us that actually any job template can be executed, and this brings in quite a good flexibility.
Nice. Thanks, Gabriel.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, thanks again. And we are moving on to the next item. It's Ermin's turn to share his screen and talk about his contribution.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to present one pull request today. Actually, you remember that one from last week's community meeting, but we had a discussion about some visualizations and some adoptions here that I want to present you today. So the changes, I will do a demo, a live demo, are when you invalidate an event, and I will for that look up one of this older configuration changes where I know that I invalidated the evaluation result. You now see the evaluation done tile here with the additional information that this evaluation result has been invalidated. And for this result, for this reason, you don't see the heat map. So you don't have a comparison, but you still have the option to show the SLO and see the actual result of this evaluation done event, and also the SLI breakdown in case that you need it for some reason. Also, what changed here is that although in the SLO file, it says that the number of comparison results is 3, it says that this comparison or this evaluation compared with last 2 past evaluations, and that's taken from the evaluation details that we provide the compared events. And as you can see, there are just 2 events used for comparison because before or at that time, there were just 2 evaluations that passed, and it had only those 2 to compare with. Also, what changed is in case that, yeah, you have your evaluation result in the heat map now, and it was compared with 2 past evaluations, you see those 2 also highlighted in the heat map. In case that I choose to delete that one, or one of those 2 that were used for comparison, I can, yeah, of course, delete it or invalidate that one. And this evaluation was, of course, compared with the last 2 past evaluations, but one of them is missing now in the heat map, and you get those additional information here. So you see one result is not showing up in the heat map because it has been either invalidated or it is older. Yeah, that's what changed here. And so now I think everything should be, yeah, good explained in the bridge. So nothing should be missing here. Are there any questions? Or otherwise, I'm handing over to Florian.
Thanks, Ermin, for sharing this. There was actually a question today in the Slack. I had a discussion with a community member on how Keptn is doing a comparison with multiple events. And since you're sharing this, right, since you have shared this, I think it was, yeah, nice coincidence. Thank you.
Cool.
All right, then I'll continue. Today I have a lot of ground to cover, so let's just jump right into it. So the first issue I want to show you was a slight extension to the Helm chart and the installer. So as you might have seen, we now have an integrations page in the bridge, which basically gives a nice overview of the available use cases that Keptn supports and how to use them. And of course, Keptn allows to install itself in various versions. So basically, depending on the use case you want to have, you can either go for the full version that's that supports the continuous delivery, quality gates, and continuous operations, or you might want to just have the limited version where you only use the quality gate and the continuous operations. And this is specified during the installation. And therefore, I have added an environment variable to the bridge deployment in the Helm chart, which is set according to the provided input for the install command. So by default, if you know, or actually the correct values are here. So for the default case, when you install Keptn just with the quality gates enabled and the continuous operation, then the variable will be set to this value, quality gates and continuous operations. And if you choose to use the continuous delivery use case, then that will be included to the list of available use cases as well. And then the bridge can react to that accordingly and display the proper information. Are there any questions about that? All right, if not, I will go on with the next one, or the next two issues actually. So those were quite a big change. So as you might have seen already, we are going to introduce a new shipyard format in Keptn 08, which looks like the following. Just really quickly, we now have basically a different format with a different API version. And the task of this issue was to make the shipyard-controller, or new service that's responsible for handling the shipyard and the task executions within it, to support the creation of new projects using that specification, and also to create new services and delete them if you choose so. And therefore, I've added a new endpoint for those operations for the shipyard controller. And as a consequence of that, the endpoint for creating projects and services has been removed from the API service, because now the CLI will use that new endpoint of the shipyard controller to create new projects. And also what we have changed is we do not use the WebSocket communication anymore when creating projects or services. But since now the complete, all the functionality is contained within one service, which is the shipyard controller, and not distributed among multiple services, we now have the possibility to just provide the result of the project creation or service creation directly within the HTTP response. So that will also make it a lot easier for clients that use the API directly instead of the CLI, in order to know what's going on and if the project creation actually was successful. All right. And the second issue that was related to that was basically the update of the CLI, because no, that's not it. Here it is. So also the CLI needed to be adapted. So now the create service and onboard service and delete service commands use that new endpoint, and also the deployment strategy will not be supported anymore, because now we have a way in the shipyard file to handle different deployment options for different services. All right, and also the shipyard files for the integration tests have been updated in that issue as well. All right, are there any questions about that? If not, I will continue with the next one. So that was a collaboration between Gotthard and I. So He was nice enough to take over this issue and provide a pull request, and I just did a few minor modifications on top of that. And actually the issue was that since now also the API service within the Keptn core will use the distributor to send event that it has received via the event HTTP endpoint, but it doesn't actually listen to events coming from the NUTS server. We now have also the requirement for the distributor to also work if there is no PubSub topic or PubSub recipient defined. So in case if you want to use it only for forwarding, you shouldn't have to set the values for the PubSub topic and PubSub recipient. And basically that has been done in this issue, or in the pull request for that issue. Are there any questions about that? All right, if not, let's go on with the next one. So that was also quite a big one in terms of the code that needed to be written, but from a user perspective, not much has changed. But this issue was actually the implementation of the delivery assistant or the delivery workflow for Keptn 08. So now you can use the delivery assistant and the approval task within your task sequences of the new shipyard file. And that also means that an approval doesn't necessarily have to be a task within the complete continuous delivery workflow, but now it can just be an isolated step within a task sequence. So for example, if you want to change the artifact delivery task sequence within the dev stage and add an approval, you just have to add a new test, for example, after the evaluation with the name, with the step name approval, and set the required properties, so the approval strategies for past results and warning results, and then the shipyard controller and the gatekeeper service will take care of handling this task. And of course, using the CLI and the bridge, you will also be able to send approval finished events and decline or approve approvals. All right, that was almost it. One final pull request, just a very minor one in terms of the functionality that has been updated, was a pull request to the Dynatrace service. So here I have added support for the new cloud events we are going to be using within Keptn 08. So we now have, we're going to have new event types and not going to use the old event types anymore. And also instead of cloud events following the SPEC version 02, we're now going to be using cloud events 1.0. So that has been updated in the Dynatrace service, and now it can handle those events. All right, I think those were all pull requests I wanted to show you today. And I'm handing over to Johannes.
Florian, can you quickly jump to the working items, because you also has 2 items there, 2 bug fixes. Yep, that one.
Yeah, after the Keptn install command, if you've done it on Windows, it showed you a command that you can execute within your shell in order to quickly authenticate at the Keptn API. And of course, that was tailored for Unix-based systems and not for Windows. And therefore, we have removed those commands and instead added a link to the documentation.
If I may just add something to this, as we do have some people with Windows trying stuff out at the moment as well. What we've seen so far is that the Git bash seems to be working nicely. So this is not 100% guarantee that everything will work, but most of the commands seem to work nicely on the Git bash. I think that's something that most Windows users will have at hand. Or at least it's quite easy to install in the worst case.
Yeah. All right, and the next one, in the current version of the 0.7.3 release branch, I've introduced a bug apparently that caused the create project command to fail in case you have provided Git upstream credentials, and that has been fixed. And now I think I've done all pull requests.
Yep, thanks a lot.
I didn't accidentally file a new one already. All right, now I'm going to be handing over to Johannes.
All right.
May I just say one word? Thanks, Florian, for presenting. And actually, Gotthard was joining the meeting, but it seems he dropped already. But also thanks, Gotthard, if you're watching the recording, that you also helped us out here.
All right, yeah. The issues that I have to present this week are two. Actually, I don't want to talk about the first one. It is still an open PR where I ask for review. It's about the requirements that are needed to implement a Keptn service that is running then in the execution plane. There we provide now documentation. And when someone has time, please take a look at the documentation and leave a comment in case you are missing information. But what I want to talk about today is that Ermin and we are working on wireframes for the sequence screen in the bridge. Before jumping over to those wireframes, I want to briefly open this slide just to explain why this is necessary to have a new dedicated sequence screen. Yeah, because with the new shipyard format, we will have task sequences within each stage, and each task in a sequence, like here, that one has a name that is artifact delivery, has a trigger, and then a list of tasks. And for all of those tasks, the shipyard controller will send out the triggered event, and also a started as well as a finished event will be generated by the executing services. And this now creates a lot of events that are coming up. In this particular case, we have 5 tasks, multiple 3 events means that we have about 15 events for just executing this sequence. And with more and more services that are listening to a task, more and more events are showing up. And now now showing those events in the current bridge would then mean that we will fill up this right list with more and more events, and that now becomes quite challenging to understand and to read. And this is the reason why we came up with a new idea of visualizing sequences. And this is what I want to show you now. And what I'm presenting you now is a wireframe where I changed the labels here in the menu through icons. Please ignore them for now. I need to ask on feedback on that because maybe they are not that intuitive that I thought at the beginning. But the first one is for the environment screen, the second one for the service screen, and the third one is for the sequence screen we are currently looking at. And when you click on that, you see here a filter component. This filter component allows you to filter sequences based on the services they were executed on, then also in which stage they were running, then the sequence type, whether it was deployment, remediation, or evaluation, And then you also can filter based on the status, which is active or failed or succeeded. And in the middle or in the center of this screen, you will then get an overview of all the task sequences that were executed in this particular project, in my case, in the sock shop project. In this version, I'm showing the sequences here vertically and also horizontally, starting here on the top left corner. This one is the most recent task sequence that was executed. Then this is the next one, and so on and so on. But I also got feedback that it also, or that it might be more easier to understand when we just show them in a list, where we have the newest sequence on the top, and then they are ordered according to their time, according to the time they were executed.
So essentially, the first screen is you read it like a book from left to right, then next line, or is it better if you just read it from top to bottom?
Has someone feedback on that? I mean, would help a lot.
I think it really depends on how big these tiles are. If I take a look at right now, it looks like it's some space is lost on the screen, and we don't use all the space we would have on the screen. But if there is anything else that should be displayed here, then it might make sense to do it like this, because it's more logical.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it really much depends if we want to share, if we want to use the whole real estate that we have, or if we just want to only show some smaller parts of it.
Yep, that's true. That was maybe my mistake, that I did not change the size of this tile, but it will not be that big. It will be smaller in this case to get more sequences listed here. That is definitely something to be changed, but yeah.
I see a raise of hands from the community. So Richard, if you want to share your thoughts, please go ahead.
Yes, I know I'm being really bold here, this being my first meeting and then weighing in on something like this, but if I may, if there's more information on this particular screen, if you were to click on one of these cards and then present more information, like some analysis, there you go. Yeah, okay, so that's different. This to me makes sense. And I like how when you click on the card, it is noted that you are looking at that one. Is this also used for looking at what stage you're currently in, or is this a configuration screen?
No, this is not the screen that is telling you the status of the stage. That one you will find here on the top. But this screen is really showing you which sequences were executed in which stage. Here, for example, we have a deployment that is currently running. That affects the card service, and this card service is currently going to deploy it in dev and in staging. Actually, in dev, it has finished. It started at 7:43, and now it's finished. That's the reason why the icon is green. And staging, it's currently ongoing, the deployment, as indicated here by this loading icon. And when we click on staging, then we see the tasks that are executed there and the task that is currently running.
Yeah, so this makes sense to me. When you first come to this particular page, I would suggest always having one of these selected. That way you can see that there's something that is being shown on the right, and it doesn't look like just empty space.
Ah, okay, good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say I've raised my concerns about the left to right and then next line, etc. In a preview that I've been given by Johannes, and hence we have this meeting now. So in my opinion, this is it's good if you only have 5 entries, but if you have 500 entries, I would rather just have it top down and scroll through.
Yep, that's true. Valid feedback, thanks. I mean, I will just click on another item, that one, for example. In this particular case, we see a deployment that is happening in multiple stages, dev, staging, production, and then here also there's a rollout to more clusters or more environments, in this case a production environment A and B. But still the concept is the same. When you click on one of those stages, you get then the tasks that were just executed in this particular stage. And the time also maps. Here we see that it started at 8:15, and this is then where the approval came in at 8:15. Then the deployment succeeded, the test succeeded, the SLI were fetched, the evaluation was done, and finally the release happened in this stage. Yeah. Just one final click. When you have just an execution of a sequence in one stage, then yeah, you will see just the stage that was affected by the sequence, and yeah, again, the tasks that were executed. All right, yeah. Thanks for the feedback already. In case you want to provide more thoughts on the screens, please just jump to the issue, which I posted here in the agenda, and just leave a comment there. You get an access to the wireframes by clicking on this in vision.io link, and you can click through the screens. And I also opened this question whether we should go the way that we present the tiles in a book style where you read it line by line, or in a list style where you have it stacked here in a list format. Please just please leave a comment there. All right, that was it from my side, and I'm the last one in this list. Then it's time to jump over to the working items. Just very quickly, let's go through that one that are ready for review but have not been presented. That one came from Ankit. He did an improvement of the install command, of the Keptn install command, because yeah, Jürgen brought up this idea of showing already, so when we are installing Keptn with a load balancer or with a node port, then we know the endpoint because yeah, it's in the cluster. And the idea from Jürgen was that we then can provide this information right here with the Keptn auth command, then with the value of the endpoint, as well as with a command to get the API token. And this was implemented by Ankit in his pull request. I think this was now the wrong one. Jump back. I want to go there to show you one thing. Yeah, Ankit implemented it, but we discussed that we also need to add a new feature flag, a new flag, which is called the hide sensitive information or hide sensitive data, because with this new feature, the Keptn CLI command is showing you sensitive information, the API token as well, just the endpoint. The API token will not be shown, but the endpoint is displayed. And in case you're integrating the Keptn CLI in an automation tool, then please be aware that you can use this flag to hide the API token, and then it will not show up in the output. Yeah, in just to stay safe and to don't leak sensitive information about your cluster also. But the feature itself works pretty cool, and it's a quite handy enhancement. Then Ermin, those two pull requests are still open, And Christian, what is the status of migrating to travis.travisci.com?
As far as I've seen, it's done. I'm just leaving it in ready for review in case we're getting any news or any updates by our end users, but it should be done for now. So I've migrated Keptn, Keptn Contrib, and Keptn Sandbox. I think I need to migrate Keptn example still. I'll take a look.
Mm-hmm.
I can verify that for Keptn Sandbox, it's working because we just deployed or released the Ansible Tower service today, and we did not change anything, and it was working right away. So thanks,
Nice.
Christian.
Well, thanks to Travis that the migration is working.
Cool. Then in progress, we will not go through this list. There's just one item that I want to open. It's that one because it's required for 0.7.3. Is Tide on the call today?
I think he rejoined. Let me find him in the list and enable his microphone. Tide, if you joined, then you should be able to unmute yourself and join the conversation.
Hi, Tide.
Yeah, how are you doing today? Yes. Okay. So I want to talk about the first issue, the timeout, before this one.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you said that I should try and check the code for a place where it displays the additional information. But I think there's a code already from line 161. Maybe can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
So you can, okay. I don't waste so much time on this. Waste that.
Sorry, I will promote you to panelist so you can share your screen. You will rejoin in a second.
Okay.
Okay, he should be able to share his screen just in a second. Yeah, he's back. And he should be able to share his screen.
Okay.
All good.
Okay. Yes, right here. So the issue is that the person was not able to during download the download button timed out. So this was the code I added to it. But you said that I didn't have to use the time, and you said I should check out this upgrade chat code. So this is here right here. So in the code, there's already a template for an error message when you don't have to, when you're upgrading, error when installing or upgrade, like when there's a problem there. So to the best of my knowledge, I think the problem is that there needs to be some kind of timeout during that hanging session. I don't know the best way to solve this, but looking at what you said, this is the things I've found out during the process of, So I think there's already a solution in the code that say, except you want me to add extra information that, which including including adding extra space for the pod. Yeah, so that's what I found from here. You can go ahead and you want to make a comment.
Mm-hmm. Tide, can you jump to the issue, please? Just.
Okay, the issue. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is the issue right here. Timeout. Okay. Where's that? Wait. Sorry, I'm taking so much time. Add upgrade status. I'm really not sure how to look for this right now. Timeout.
No, let me just give you.
Okay, let me check. I think these are newer issues.
If we can find the issue number, you can just click on on any issue, and then in the URL we just change the issue number.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, you found it. Perfect.
This is, yeah. Yes, so this is the issue right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hasn't enough resources, and when you try to install Keptn at some point, the installation is stuck and nothing happens. So the idea is that it wants that. I started not knowing that it's enough to my fault because.
The question is whether we can get more information.
Information, yes, on the code.
That we can present to the user. As Christian mentioned here, that the upgrade chart function is performing the upgrade. And when this one fails, we should provide an indication why it failed. And this is actually the goal, or this is the task.
Yeah, so it said that we should provide more information on why the upgrade failed, or we should the upgrade should time out. So looking at this very well, can also consider a timeout for this. Okay. So yeah, so you just said that should okay. This is the next. So we don't waste so much time on. That's the issue right there. So I tried to implement a simple timeout, but you said the time was not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the timeout is kind of risky because setting a timeout, it can work, because no, you set a timeout at 7 seconds, and this is, from my point of view, too low. But setting it to 20 or 30, I don't know whether this will work. Going with a timeout is I think not the best approach. It's more about providing more information to the user why this upgrade failed and did not work the way it should.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so about the providing more information to the user. Okay, why am I here? I dropped some. Yeah, so I was saying that the upgrade chart already provides. So I'm thinking that should I just add some more some comments here that it could fail due to some
I think,
low resources.
I think the best approach is that you try out what happens when an upgrade fails because you have a too small cluster. Just spin up a cluster with one node and with two just with one CPU and not that much memory. Then you try to install Keptn there, and what message do you get when the upgrade fails or the installation fails? And this information should then be presented to the user.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes some sense. Yeah, so I will try that out. Yeah, stop sharing.
Okay. All right. Then Tyler, I have another question. Do you find time to work on that issue?
The other one, right?
The other one.
To me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. I had some question on the chat. Like, I was trying to look for a way because I don't have Keptn installed.
Mm-hmm.
I've been having some issues installing it. You know, so I was looking for. I asked that whether I could just install the bridge service and the lighthouse. Of course, I've been trying to do it on my laptop. So I think Juban sent me some information on trying to install it on a box.
Okay.
I've been working on that too, but I still would have preferred a way where I could install it straight on my laptop, like on my local host, so I can test for changes. I really don't know how to do that yet.
Mm-hmm.
I get more resources.
Okay. Ty, there's just one thing that I don't want to take it away from you, but we want to release 0.73 next week, and this feature should be in there. And in case you don't find time to work on it, it's totally fine. And then we will just take it over.
Yeah, it's okay. You can just unassign it from. Yeah, it's fine.
Maybe just a side note for everybody who is going to work on the bridge in the future. In the repository, in the bridge directory, we have a README how to start the bridge on localhost. So you just have to provide the remote URL, so URL to the API and the API token. So you need to have an Keptn cluster somewhere deployed, and then it's just node, or actually it's an npm script that you start, and it starts the bridge locally, and you can develop on it very easily. Just as a side note here.
Okay. Tide, when we will start working on that, we will let you know by a comment on this issue.
Okay. Yeah.
Just okay. All right. Perfect. Then those I will skip and we'll jump over to the backlog. In the backlog, we have one issue for the statistics service. The statistics service is running into a memory leak according to a monitoring solution. And here we can see that it's constantly increasing the memory and there is no drop. Yeah, and this fills up the memory consumption of this service. Can someone take a look at this problem?
Yeah, I can take it.
All right, thanks a lot. I think I'm not administrator of this repository. Maybe Florian, can you assign yourself to it?
I myself, yeah.
All right. I was going to say I can assign it later, but yeah, sure.
Okay. And the second one is that the integration page and the example is not working because of a wrong time format. Because when you go to the bridge, to the integrations page, there you'll find an example for a evaluation use case or for the quality gate use case. But when you execute it, it's not working because the time frame is not UDC, it's another one. And then you run into a problem that you are actually trying to evaluate a quality gate that is in the future. I also consider it as 0.73 related, meaning that there is a little bit of pressure on that one. Who is up for working on that?
Yeah, you can assign it to me since it's in the bridge.
Okay, thanks. Oh, okay. Then the next one that
Actually,
came up.
I started already working on that one.
Oh, cool.
Since it's critical and blocking for one customer, and yeah, therefore, yeah, you can assign it to me.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Yeah, the problem right now is that the bridge is showing just 20 services, and in case you have more, they will not show up because of a pagination situation in the configuration service. Then that one is not that critical, but I pulled it in just in case we can, or we have time to work on it before we starting the 0.73 release. It's about a problem that appears when you have an SLO file where the value of, what's the problem? Where the value of include result with score has no quotes, but is shown like here, then the bridge cannot read this information and is displaying it. It's actually not showing this information, and the fix would be to read both versions of a JSON file, of a YAML file, one that has quotes and the other one does not.
Yeah, you can assign that one also to me.
Okay, thanks, Ermin. Okay, perfect. And then I have, yeah, the issue about the 0.7.3 release we are going to start next week. I did not fill in or did not add the information or the checklist there. It's just an empty box right now. But yeah, by next week we are working on that one. And apart from the release itself, I just want to point out that there are still a couple of issues in there that are regarding the services of the contribution of the Keptn contrib repo and the Keptn sandbox repo, because we need to update those in order to make them working with the new shipyard format and also with the new shipyard controller. Actually, this one summarizes all the services that need to be upgraded. If you have time, please feel free to pick one of those issues and to help us upgrading all the contrib and sandbox services to make them 0.8 compliant. And here are all the issues further down.
Is there some kind of test framework that we know that they are 0.8 compliant, or how can we validate that we made the changes correctly in sandbox and contrib services? Because we might not be familiar with all of this, all of these services.
That's actually a good question. I mean, no, as of today, we don't have a test framework for that. But we should consider of providing one, just to make sure that the implementation is working with 0.8.
Yeah, so something like the test framework should just send all the different kinds of events that are possible within and send it to the service, and it will check if it receives the correct
That's true.
That's basically everything.
Kind of a very simple shipyard controller that sends out all the events and is listening or waiting for a started and finished event. That's basically it.
Yeah, because I think in the beginning, most of these services, they would not understand the event that they are receiving, or would fail in sending back the correct event. And so we can check easily if everything's done correctly.
Yep, that's true. Let's have a follow-up discussion on building such a framework. Okay. Yeah, those are then maybe more for 0.8, which we will discuss next week. All right, that was it from my end.
I just realized that we already took a little bit.
Yeah, but we're a little bit over time.
Yeah.
Oops, wrong.
Do we have any more items on the agenda for today? But I think we are good. Then one last item from my side. So we are also working on improving the Keptn website. If you have any feedback that you want to share, please let us know or let me know in the Keptn Slack, and we are happy to discuss how the new iteration of the Keptn website should look like. Then yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Sorry that we took a little bit more of your time, but yeah, we will see each other next week. And please note there are 2 Keptn community webinars also next week. If you want to join them, the links are in the meeting notes, and we'll also tweet about this next week. And have a nice evening, everyone, and see you all next week. Bye. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.